what he wants to do with his life. Now, how does that make you feel?
First of all, I'm gonna give a rat's ass what this snot-nosed punk wants. As long as he lives in my house and eats my food, I make the rules.
I want to eat chicken burgers.
You little prick.
Jim, don't hurt my baby. Now sit down.
Hello and welcome to Two Movies Enter, One Movie Leaves. Obviously, a play on what that great philosopher Sartre once said about, like, yes, Max, enter Thunderdome, face Master Blaster, one movie enter, two movies leave. Something like that. But yes, this is a show where we're going to have a weekly competition between two different movies. Similar kind of movies. This week it's Freddy Got Fingered versus Blazing Saddles. For some reason it seemed like a good idea at the time. It even seemed to make sense at the time. Laura picked it, so I just kind of went along with it.
Right,
you know.
yeah. Whose favourite film is Freddy Got Fingered?
Tom Green's, I'd imagine Drew Barrymore has a bit of distaste for it. But yeah, it's the reason behind it, I suppose, starting off, I kind of thought maybe Freddy Got Fingered, and then I was kind of thinking maybe versus an older movie that was a little bit mental at the time.
I suppose, yeah.
And initially we were going to do Doctor Strangelove, and then we thought, oh no, Blazing Saddles, we want to look at Blazing Saddles. So yeah, it's just the two of those movies facing off. So it's kind of the old versus the older.
I was just about to say, where are you going with the old? Freddy Got Fingered is what,
2001, yeah.
Jesus Christ,
and some
like
people say it was
years?
responsible for 9/11.
Possibly.
It was that bad. So I suppose we start off with Freddy Got Fingered. I am
Why
a fan
don't you
of
take
it.
it away, Yasin, as you
Yeah.
are a very big fan
For
of it.
people who aren't familiar with the movie, it was written and directed by Tom Green. People who aren't familiar with Tom Green, this could get into one of those kind of Doctor Who intro things with, like, the camera facing down into another camera. That's our dog there, who's a really big fan of Freddy Got Fingered. But it's Tom Green, I suppose, was a bit of a 90s, not phenomenon, but it's before Jackass even, and before he had a lot of these. Tom Green was doing his own show from Canada, where he used
was
to
kind of the original prankster, you know, one of these, like, candid camera almost, but not quite.
Yeah.
He was Eric Andre before Eric Andre was Eric Andre.
And like, he used to do a load of shit against his parents. Like, there was one thing where his parents are very conservative, so there was one I remember where he basically got, like, a porn scene painted on the fucking
the hood of his
father's car. So he was doing all this shit, and it was all before Jackass.
Yeah, well, before Bam Margera. Oh my god.
I'd imagine a lot of that stuff was infamous, but it was all part of the skate culture as well, and it was a bit like Wayne's World, and so much of, like, it was recorded in his own house, and so it was very punk rock.
Yeah,
I suppose TV punk rock, and it got picked up by TV, and Tom Green became a bit of a name. Would think. I think the show ended up on MTV. I think.
Yeah, he was on MTV. Yeah.
And then, like, he was married to Drew Barrymore, wasn't he?
Very briefly, I think around the time of Freddy Got Fingered. Actually.
Yeah, it was. I think it was
2002.
She's in it briefly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did Freddy Got Fingered, and everyone was expecting really big too, because it was kind of at the peak of his career, I suppose, and people were like, "Oh my god!"
He was a household name at that stage, I think. Whereas before, he was very underground, and then even when he went to MTV, he was still an acquired taste, I would say.
But people should have kind of known, because of the stuff that he did, what he was. It wasn't going to be a conventional movie, I suppose, put it nicely, and it's not. It's just fucking mental. It's basically, his character is a guy who's living in the basement of his parents' house, and you can see, like, I suppose what we could have done was nearly compare it to Hot Rod, because there's a lot of elements of Hot Rod, and a lot of movies after that that are very similar to it. His dad thinks he's a loser, and it's Rip Torn. Rip Torn would have been coming off probably the Larry Sanders Show at the time, as Artie. And he's, for people who don't even know that, or too young for that, Rip Torn was fucking was Patches Mac fucking something in Dodgeball.
Yeah, in Dodgeball, yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like it's really the relationship between the two of them, like the son being a loser, but it's just fucking mental. Like there's stuff, and for people who haven't seen, like you should be watching the movie before you're listening to this podcast, because it's just going to sound bizarre and not funny when we were talking about it or when people are talking about it. Like
it's kind of like live action Adult Swim or live action Ren and Stimpy.
It's Adult Swim.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, you asked that last time we were looking at it. Like, did he have anything to do with Ren and Stimpy?
Yeah, because it just has that vibe about it, like, you know. So that would probably give you a bit of a flavour. It's sort of it's a bit gross. It's a bit weird. It's a bit very off kilter humour. Like it's very
it's
of
chaotic.
Its time.
It's completely and utterly chaotic. Like even it starts off, I suppose, nearly. It nearly throws a fucking red herring at you, kind of thinking that, oh, this is going to be like maybe American Pie or one of those movies where he's skateboarding through a mall and they're chasing after him, and then he's like going off leaving home and they're all like, oh, you're proud of you, son.
Got a
You're
job,
finally,
son. Yeah.
And then he just screams, get the fuck out of my way at this old woman, and he goes off and wanks off a horse. And from that point you're just kind of, what the fuck is going on? Oh. Sorry, I'm trying to take the dog's toy away from him that he's going to be squeaking at throughout the whole thing. But, it's just fucking insanity. And Tom Green is good in it, but the film wouldn't be the same without Rip Torn as the dad.
No.
It's just fucking insanity. With the dad, where he is that. I think The Simpsons did like it, where Bart was doing Angry Dad for Homer.
Yeah,
where he was like,
that's kind of the character.
That's pretty much.
It starts off, you kind of think like they're a normal kind of himself and the wife are like this normal couple. Of course, the wife then as well is
she was in
Airplane, yeah. But you kind of think they're going to be the normal like loving kind of mum and dad and the stereotypical like apple pie family, and it turns out he's just as big of a lunatic as the son is. Like,
he's even worse to a certain degree. And there is the guy, I can never remember his name. He played a deputy in Dumb and Dumber who ends up drinking the piss.
Huh?
Yeah, remember there was a deputy in Dumb and Dumber who ends up drinking the piss.
Oh right,
the bottle. Yeah, it's him. He plays like the best friend, and he's rarely in it. But there's just one bit where they're after building a skate ramp out in the front garden, and they're like, "Oh, we've been doing it for years. Have it going." And he fucking trips on it from a nail that's not put down properly and just obliterates his leg, and his bone is coming
sticking out.
So it's gross, like out comedy as well.
Very extreme gross out comedy actually, because I mean there's just, you know, he's shouting and roaring and like oh my god my leg, and the very last clip is just a flash of a scene like before it finishes, it's just Tom Green lying down tasting like the blood off his bone, and it's gross. The
bit with the baby, I would imagine that baby was dead in a certain cut of the movie where he's in visiting his friend in hospital and there's a pregnant woman beside him just that keeps going, shut the fuck up, can't you see I'm pregnant?
Yeah.
And there must have been something like that happened in real life where a pregnant woman must have been just saying, can't you see I'm pregnant to him. But she's like going to get, and he goes, oh, I'll do it, I'm a doctor, and she's like, get the fuck away from me, and he drags the baby out of her, and the baby
it's horrific viewing.
Yeah, and she's like, oh my god, the baby's not crying, so he spins it around. And
why the umbilical cord?
There's that old joke where like the doctor done it, and she's like, why is the baby not crying? And the doctor is spinning it around the room, kicks it around, and he goes, don't worry, it's dead anyway. And I think that was probably going to be that joke done like that, because
that is very dark though. It's dark enough as it is, like, and it's horrific, and like I mean honestly, if it was made nowadays there probably wouldn't outcry over
it wouldn't get anywhere kind of now. And speaking of kind of like being made nowadays, because I think we'll just dip between the two films, Blazing Saddles could not get made now. I don't even think they could remake with the language that's in it. We were only talking about it, like, say there's friends of ours, like their kids are young teenagers.
Yeah, Gen Z.
Yeah,
or even Gen Alpha at this stage.
think they would be horrified by some of the language.
But that's the thing with Blazing Saddles, the language is used to show the racism all the time as well. Like, you know, I mean... it's
not like a racist movie.
No, the protagonist is actually, like, it's a black guy, you know, and it's back in the time when, like, blacks were obviously not treated like well. They were used as slaves to build, like, fucking railroads. and this guy just basically rose. He was appointed the sheriff of a town, basically.
But yeah,
it's a whole dastardly thing,
the name of the film, or
Yeah.
kind of like with Blazing Saddles, the plot of the movie is a guy called Bart he's an African American who gets put in the position of a sheriff of a town, which the bad guys want to take over so they can put a railway through, because they think if they get like a black sheriff, the town will
the
be
tones will
so
be so
offended.
horrified they'll all just up and leave.
Yeah, and of course it turns into like a Seven Samurai kind of Magnificent Seven
Kind of
thing,
a
where the
standoff thing,
town
yeah.
rally against the bad guys and stuff. And it's probably one of the first films. Well, it's one of the first films I can remember where it breaks the fourth wall completely.
Yeah.
And it spills into the real world at the end, like the
Onto
end
the
of
movie
it.
set, yeah.
Yeah, and then into the movie theatre.
Yeah.
And then like the bad guy's watching the film on the screen and sees the good guy stopping outside the theatre, and he's like, oh shit. And like, there's a lot of fucking really weird for the 74 really weird fucking shit in it.
Actually, I think you said it best as well. You're like, Jesus, Family Guy owes a debt to this
It's
film.
Family
It's
Guy
again,
out
it's
and
like
out,
live
like,
action
yeah.
Family Guy. That's what it is.
But
I
it's
think.
directed by Mel Brooks, who's done like fucking so many movies. Like I suppose Young Frankenstein would be one that I'd be a big fan of.
Didn't you do the producers?
Yeah, he did the producers.
Springtime.
Yeah. Producers is probably one of the better known modern ones, because there was a remake of it, and I think it was on Broadway for a long time, wasn't it? The musical of it with Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Yes, I only know Nathan Lane's name because I think maybe in Curb Your Enthusiasm they talked about it a bit. And maybe he was in Curb as well.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But yes.
But Blazing Saddles, yeah, the
no,
language that's in it, like
it is like, I mean, obviously they're using like
The
racial
N-word,
epithets
an
and
awful lot,
and
yeah.
C words and not the
And
female
F
C words,
words.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
anything racist you can think of, and it's to show these horrific, like sort of like stereotypical, like white racists of the time.
And this would have been at the time where that kind of stuff would have been in movies unironically.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's the
But
thing.
this was like challenging it.
Yeah.
And like really, really fucking challenging it. To go,
And of course, it was set back in the Wild West times as well.
Yeah.
Of course, like so, it's like sort of if they're challenging it back then, and it's still in around in 1974. That's it's kind of a bit of a
yeah. It's
very depressing when you think about it. Yeah,
and you go like, oh.
still around today.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah, God.
But it's such a funny movie. It's like I avoided it, I think, when I was younger because my father liked it a lot and he was big into cowboy movies, and I wasn't such a big fan of cowboy movies, so I thought,
I think you probably thought it was just a straightforward cowboy film, was it?
because
Yeah.
it is done so well, it looks like a proper cowboy movie. It's not, the way there's a lot of spoof movies that come
Yeah.
out and you look at it and kind of go, ugh,
That's a spoof, yeah.
this
for sure.
could have been fucking played, and there was just so many with the hangman. Like that thing where there's like an executioner and he's hanging people, and it goes out to him, and he's like this medieval hangman with a humpback and fucking
gammy arm kind of thing. But
really well spoken.
I was just going to say, he's very, very well spoken and highly educated.
And that was the thing. I think with Mel Brooks, he creates fantastic characters. Hedley Lamar is probably one of my favourite villains of all time with things.
Yeah,
And Taggart.
he's just
as
such
well,
a moustache twirling villain, isn't he?
Yeah. But it's just so stupid. But like when you compare the two, I think the two of them were probably offensive in some ways. Like when they came out. Now Freddy Got Fingered was fucking tanked when it came out, and for a long time people were saying it was one of the worst movies ever made. I think it won a load of Razzies, and Tom Green showed up to get him. Yeah.
Why not? He's Tom Green.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can compare the two as in levels of offensiveness, because I don't think the intent was the same. I think Tom Green's Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It is like purposefully offensive, and it is purposely gross out, outrageous, whatever you want to say. It is designed to make people go, oh my God, Jesus, that's disgusting. Like, I mean, he comes across a dead deer in the road and he like guts it up.
He was
and
after being
wears
advised.
it.
Yeah, prior to that, he was after being get inside your characters, and he's like, "Oh, I have to
Took
get
it literally,
inside."
yeah, because he was drawing animals. So like he just basically guts this deer and starts wearing it, and like it's that level of like absolute where it's challenging the viewer to turn away from the screen and oh my God, I have to turn this off. This is
I think it
disgusting.
was
I want
nearly
to walk out of the
anti-comedy
cinema.
before anti-comedy became
Was a proper
a
thing, I suppose, yeah. Whereas I think Blazing Saddles, that was not
Oh,
the
no,
intention.
no, I did,
The
yeah,
intention,
you're right, like, yeah.
It's very much like challenging views and sort of like, how
and as
ridiculous
well,
are these
Blazing
people?
Saddles had there's a lot of musical numbers in it. There's a lot of theatre kind of bits in it.
Yeah.
It's nearly like a play in parts. where there is that whole, I don't know, kind of hamming it up to as if the audience is close by and a lot of winks at the camera. And,
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's all these like whispered stage kind of asides, like, you know, wait and we see what happens next, dear viewer, kind of a thing, you know.
And it kind of, as well, it went against character type as well with Gene fucking Wilder was in it. And Gene Wilder isn't the main character in it, and he's not really the funny one in it either. He's the Waco kid who's like an alcoholic who can't shoot.
Yeah, he used to be a sharpshooter kind of a thing, buddy, and he's just a washed up drunk, like stuck in a jail cell now.
I think one of my favourite lines in the whole movie is when Bart goes into him and he's like, "Oh, so come on, we'll do whatever you want to do. What do you like to do?" And he's like, "Chess." Screw. Let's play chess then.
Well, you see, there's a lot of like, say, I won't say one-liners, but a lot of like sort of like pitch him up and knock him down kind of two-parters like that, where it's like there's this very snappy kind of, you know, the writing is fucking phenomenal.
Oh, it is.
Like,
Well,
you know,
anything Mel Brooks has done,
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything bad that he's done. There's some films that I'm not really mad on. Like, I don't like that take on fucking Vertigo. I can't remember. It's high fucking. But I think that's
you've
just
done
because
your
I'm.
research on this, haven't
Yeah,
you?
well, I'm just not like a Hitchcock fan anyway in the first place. So
Yeah,
the
that
spoof of it
doesn't
just a
appeal
bit
to
like,
all that much, yeah. But I mean, it is like, it's ridiculous. Like, you have all the tropes of like those sort of older films where like you always run into like quicksand, and it's like, you know,
God,
you know, they're often they get caught in the quicksand, and like, you know, sort of the white guys come along and they're like, "Geez, oh no, look at it, God Almighty!" throwing out a rope, and it's to rescue like the kind of the railway platform that they're standing
Instead
on.
of the
Instead
two
of the two guys that were in there, and they have to haul themselves out bit by bit out of the quicksand, and they finally get out and they turn around like, "What are you two doing lying there on the ground? Get up and start working again," you know. It's just it does just point to, like, I mean, people having that attitude of like, you know, oh my God, that piece of mechanical stuff is way more valuable than the slave that I own.
But it would have been at the time.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it was done so well because, like, I mean, the thing, when I would have seen it when I was younger, of course, you know, you pick up on the racist elements in it. Like, not that the film being racist, but, you know, of the time that it's set in. But think that it's, because I think we grew up in a time where it was, looking back, it was very naive, or you were kind of like, hey, racism's not going to exist anymore. Hey, we can defeat
everything
this.
was moving the right way, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then, like, things just somehow fucking
flipped
went,
right
like, way
back on
worse.
their head, yeah.
Where you're looking at kind of, oh, it's like, you know, thank God things aren't that.
Yeah, thank God that's long gone.
Yeah.
Thank God people don't think like that now. Something happened in like the sort of in the last 10 years or so, I think, for everything to just absolutely tank.
The balls on them for the time to do a big motion movie. It got nominated for Oscars and stuff, and it won I don't think it won Oscars, but it won, like, you know, big awards around the world and stuff with it. But, like, the balls of Mel Brooks to do stuff like, because, like, there was a lot of film that weren't putting kind of, like, you know, say African Americans as leading men in films, and, like, I don't think I've ever seen the guy in movies after that. I can't even. I could look up his name, but so could you. But he was brilliant in it. Like, he really was. And there was the whole bit with the candygram from Mongo.
Oh yeah.
Even that whole thing with Mongo, you wouldn't get away with fucking Mongo nowadays.
Yeah, basically a giant oversized cowboy that is mentally deficient, I suppose. Yeah. And you know, it's just this whole like scene of like, oh, the cowboys eat beans and they just sit around and fart. And you know, Mongo was like their big secret weapon. It's like, oh, Mongo, go in and kill him, it's fine.
And, like, he punches a horse and knocks a horse out when he shows up in the town at first. Yeah. But it's like the candygram for Mongo thing.
Yeah.
It felt like it was a take on Looney Tunes, but it felt your man felt like that plays Bart felt like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, coming in as like a bellhop or something like that. That's exactly what it was like.
I think he was like, maybe he didn't go on and want to do comedies or something afterwards, but he was just so fucking funny. Like, he was like a character in it. I'm just looking him up very quickly, and All in the Family. Yeah, he was in like tons of movies, but
up to the 90s, basically.
Well, it seems to be like just kind of like episodes of the guy. Oh, he was in Chef. Alf.
Chef?
Oh my God.
Fletch Lives,
yeah, Toy Soldiers and The Fog. Yeah, a lot of kind of one-off kind of things.
The Love Boat.
So his career didn't really. But
Well, I
he
mean,
should have,
that's still a fairly decent career for most actors as well, you know.
Oh yeah, but
He's been consistently working, like,
it's not as if he was.
No,
like,
I know he didn't catapult into like the stratosphere.
Yeah, he was kind of Klugman.
What?
I can't remember. There was a guy that they used to always go on about. You used to get freaked out about when you were stoned listening to or watching fucking Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh no, it was that fucking Zorak.
Yeah, Zorak. But Zorak used to keep talking about an actor called Jack Klugman. And you used to be like, oh god, he's blinking again.
I know, it was the sound of his eyeballs blinking. It was actually just, it used to just like make me skin crawl. I used to feel physically sick with it. I can't. Even though Space Ghost was very funny, I just couldn't bear watching it.
Yeah, bring back Space Ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why not?
There should have been a Space Ghost movie. A live action Space Ghost movie. Who plays Space Ghost in a live action Space Ghost movie?
Adam West.
No, it was actually, my first thought was George Clooney. Have to be George. I was, never mind. But yeah, between the two movies, they're both very different movies. Freddy Got Fingered is just, I think, punk rock movie, and there's a lot of people now. Well, not me, not a lot,
but it's entirely gross out humour as well.
Yeah, but it's meant to be. It's just, but. Like a lot of people nowadays, I think there's a revisionist thing that happens like 20 years later, and people are going, you know, it was actually fairly good. Like Chris Rock says it's one of his favourite comedy movies. There's a lot of people that I think that are into comedy that go, and you look at stuff like that, I think you should leave now and all those bits and pieces, and that's all in the same vein. And Eric Andre's stuff is very, very.
It is absolutely. It's this absurdist kind of anarchic humour, but again, it's the whole thing. Like as you were saying, like he just like drives past a farm and joins in with like wanking off a horse. Like if you did that nowadays, we're like, oh my god, he's abusing that animal. You know, it just would not fly.
Well, even the thing with the elephant at the end coming on the father. And like wasn't there a thing in, what was that thing with Sacha Baron Cohen and the Brothers Grimsby where they hide up the arse of an elephant or a rhino or something like that? And
everyone, that film was pilloried because of that. As well. And sure, of course, Ace Ventura, didn't he hide as well in a fake rhinoceros?
I can't remember.
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
But that Brothers Grimsby is actually very funny.
That's horrific as well.
Gave Harry Potter AIDS.
But that's another film for another time. But I suppose it is that kind of vein of like, okay, how much can you take and how, you know, sickened can you make the audience basically, and these like random bursts of violence as well.
But it's the violence I think that entertains me the most, and like when it gets to the point where him and the father, and where the title comes from, they're in counselling, and he turns around to the counsellor because he's sick of the father. The father is like, get a fucking job, just get out of the house. And he turns around and he goes, oh, Daddy fingered Freddy.
My little brother. He touches my little brother.
So then there's this whole thing where he's been and like the little brother is like 25. And like the mother believes him.
It is, And
Freddy gets taken away into like the home for the sexually molested
children.
And he gets abandoned there.
Yes, that I suppose that will probably tell you the level of sort of the gross out humour that is in that, I suppose. And it's this kind of... Tom Green was always known for this sort of almost repeating something to the point of almost making it not funny again, if you know what I mean. Again, it's like the Family Guy thing of like, you know, I don't know, sort of the chicken coming out and fighting with Peter, where things just go on for
Family Guy was
a minute too long.
Influenced by it. And like there's stuff in it where it cuts away. Well, by Blazing Saddles as well. I think there's probably a bit of both of those in Family Guy.
I think so, yeah. And Family Guy, of course, I think it's probably more influenced by Blazing Saddles because you have that,
and the
bursting into song, exactly. Yeah, you have all of this kind of thing,
and the kind of nearly not flashbacks, but cut away, kind of like something else happening.
And it has this bizarre, as you said, it like sort of they're having a massive fight, and then it spills out off the like the movie set and into like real life, and then it breaks out into, you know, sort of there's a song and dance number going on next door.
It's only vaudevillian.
Yes,
there's a lot of that in Family Guy. Well, I think the earlier seasons when set, Jesus Christ, I can't. McFarlane, was more involved.
I imagine he's still pretty involved.
Oh yeah, but like how can he can like there's like a big massive team of writers. When it started, it was pretty much just a thing that he did. That's why we got like I got into it fucking very, very quickly when it came out, and it it was always on the verge of being cancelled. And
Yeah,
then
I know, it was
just
cancelled
got
a number of
cancelled. Yeah, I
times,
think
yeah.
season 3 maybe, or...
I remember you went to great lengths to try and get the seasons on DVDs as well. You had to like get special order them in like to Ireland. It's probably one of the first copies ever of. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous nowadays. You can just go online and stream it. It's
Yeah,
on
you
every TV.
couldn't at that. You couldn't even download it legally.
You couldn't. You just couldn't buy it actually. And I remember because you got it, our house suddenly became the go-to place. Everyone's like, "Can we come round and watch some Family Guy, please?" So it was just like
after it got
endless showing of
cancelled, it
Family
became
Guys.
a thing because it was Sky was showing it over here, and I think because Sky owned by Fox Network. I think they still are, but at the time, so it was the same week that it was aired over in America, and I think Fox were kind of it's not really. I think they were setting it up to be like a Simpsons killer at the start, or maybe more of a South Park killer.
Yeah.
And then they just got to a point where they're just like, no, we can't deal with this. I think it was season 2 actually got cancelled at the end of season 2. Because I remember getting season 2, and then I think that was
it for a
on
while.
DVD. I got a box set. No, maybe it was season 4. I don't know.
You sound like some old person now. What are you doing? I get my story straight. Was it 1900 or 1902? That's a cloud's all for.
Johnson. But between the two, what would be your favourite?
I would always go for Blazing Saddles because I think it's more of a classic. I think it stands up an awful lot more. I think Freddy Got Fingered. Now, in fairness, like there's that one particular quote that lives rent free in my head, and that we're always saying is like, Daddy, would you like some sausages?
The girlfriend in Freddy Got Fingered as well.
She is hilarious.
There's just something very pure about her, but she's horrific.
Yeah, she's like a sexual deviant, basically.
And she's like a doctor, and she's in a wheelchair, and she likes getting her legs caned and sucking his dick, and that's all that she wants to do. But she's also into rocket science. It's just
she wants to get a rocket power wheelchair. But she is such a very pure, as you said, like she almost seems innocent and stuff, but she's like, an absolute filth bag in the bedroom kind of thing, to the point where he's even like, can we not just please go out on a date? I don't want to just stay home.
And little Timmy in it was constantly like this kid who was just constantly he wanted to do a director's cut of it apparently, but they wouldn't let him. Even for the 10-year anniversary, they just wouldn't give him the footage to. Which it's beyond me why they wouldn't just let him do a director's cut. Fucking
they're probably terrified to watch shit come out with. That's the trouble.
Yeah, well, the last bit of it was I think the kid you see the kid getting hacked up by the blades of the. Yeah,
there's a load of blood, but it's kind of like little Timmy did.
No, but in the director's cut, there was you get to see him getting hacked up. I think that was where it ended. But. Think my problem with Blazing Saddles, I think Blazing Saddles starts off really, really, really strong. And the first 40 minutes of it is fucking great. Then when the prostitute comes into it, I think it breaks the flow. That gets very... I don't know, there's just something happens at that point where it gets very...
kind of slowed down a bit.
Yeah, slows down, and it's not as funny. And then it kind of nearly... it was like a speed bump in the fucking the film, and I don't think that bit works in it at all. If they had a lot shorter scene,
and it's that big song and dance number like that. It's kind of like, okay, we get the picture. You don't have to do it for this long, it doesn't have to be a full length song that she sings.
It's just I don't know. It just breaks the whole momentum. Every time I look at it, that comes along,
the point,
and to kind of lose interest a bit, and then. Everything else seems to happen a little bit too quick, or it's a bit disjointed, like when all the bad guys are they have the ad out for the most evil men to join up so they can attack the thing. That seemed too quick, where they could have got more out of that, and then it's just straight into the end. So I don't know, that's my problem with Blazing. I think the pacing is horrific from I think the last or the second part of it is just fucking...
I think it suffers... It doesn't suffer, I suppose, from, but it does have that sort of its time kind of thing where they're doing a scene and the scene kind of ends and the camera lingers for a second while it kind of fades out into the next scene, and it's like that would have been a thing. Older films are just paced a bit slower, I think, as well. It's not the whiz flashbang.
Well, it's not even, but there's stuff going on with it, and it was funny. That part for me just wasn't funny at all. There was nothing funny in that thing, and it's jokes about, if we're comparing sausage jokes,
okay,
the sausage joke in Blazing Saddles is, I could eat another 15 of those or something like that. Where it's just, Whereas compared to that to Daddy, would you like some sausages?
Yes.
Sausages. Or the backwards man.
Yes. Well, you see, that's the thing. I think it's just his whole sense of humour is like either you like it or it's totally and utterly incomprehensible and off-putting. So I think possibly unless you grew up with Tom Green and that whole MTV kind of era thing, I don't think you would actually get it. I don't think somebody sitting down now that has never heard of Tom Green or seen this film, which there would be a lot of people I would imagine, I'd say they sit down and they'd be like, who is this absolute lunatic? How is this meant to be
Would
funny?
you not think like the 4chan generation and all that
Man,
would kind of with the memes and stuff?
Possibly, but that's
That
yeah.
sounded very old. The 4chan
and the
with
memes and the internet
stuff.
people and all the rest. But I suppose actually Tom Green is probably very memeable, all right. It was like memes before memes were a thing, as you said, like with the backwards man or fucking sort of.
But it's just that insane kind of weird humour that it's not based on, and even the bit like with Drew Barrymore in it, where he's like, oh, kind of like, no, I think I could love you and all that, and she's like, fuck off. Yeah. And for Drew Barrymore at the time, because Drew Barrymore, like, anyone familiar with Drew Barrymore is like she had a wild life, a wild childhood, and then at this stage of her career she was
gone
trying
very sweet and wholesome and like
so to see her going like that was like, what?
It was
for
a bit
people
shocking,
that wouldn't
alright,
know,
very shocking.
But it's so that's whereas I think with Freddy Got Fingered, the only point where it stalls is the very end.
Yeah, and even he says it himself. He's like, when is this film going to be over? He's kind of aware of that writer after doing like 3 endings at this stage. And like, I mean, they end up in Pakistan at the end of it, like, bizarrely. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I suppose, again, to go back to the whole thing, he basically...
offensive joke.
Go on then, you can tell the offensive
where he
joke.
basically, the dad turns around and goes, with him not being able to get a job, he's gone like, fucking, if you were in Pakistan, you would have been sewing soccer balls at the age of 2 or something like that. And so then he brings him off to Pakistan.
Yeah, after he makes it big.
He's like, oh, Daddy, look, we're both in Pakistan. Now we can make footballs together.
It is. But that's the thing. There's so many unhinged jokes that it sort of hangs the whole thing together like that, And there's a lot of incredibly offensive stuff. Do you know what I mean?
There is, But it's not... It never feels like it's poking fun at people.
It's not. I don't think it's malice or malicious or anything like that. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's malicious. I do think, as I said, it's just this kind of like shock horror kind of humour, very crude. But I suppose one of the reasons that I reckon you probably like it is because you probably see a lot of yourself.
No, I didn't fucking you were saying that at the time.
Basically, it's this grown adult and his whole dream is to become a comic book artist. And
an animator. He wants to be an animator.
Yes.
Fucking difference.
Sorry, he draws these pictures and all the rest, and he just has all these mad notions, and he's living his own life and all the rest. And I could just see a lot of yourself in that when you were a teenager, and now as a grown 40-something-year-old. And sense of humour as well probably lines up a little bit.
The sense of humour, definitely.
Yeah. But I honestly, if I came home someday and I saw it, like, of course, as well, playing the keyboard and all the rest, you're big into your keyboard and your synth and all the rest, I would not be surprised to come home someday and see you with like sausages all strung up across the ceiling and rigged up to your synthesizer.
Yeah, maybe not. I wouldn't like to get the grease on it.
No, you'd make me do it because you're like, I don't want to touch it. You touch it and get yourself dirty.
Now when I look at it, I kind of see the dad in myself a little bit more.
Possibly, yeah. The quick to anger and the fucking the lack of patience.
The bit where he goes, there's a bit where Tom Green is in the shower dressed up in a scuba gear and he's like just going, I'm finding treasure. Rip Torn just fucking throws him through and there's nothing about like it being thrown through the glass or it's just like it's very comic book violence where it's never kind of addresses like, oh my god, until the guy's leg gets fucked up.
Yeah.
When it happens to other people, they seem to have like horrific injuries and it's like
the
oh
child.
my god,
that's it. But
whereas,
the violence between the father and the son is comic violence.
nothing happens. Like Tom Green gets kicked by or hit by the elephant and gets driven like 50 feet through the air. And
he gets knocked out by a truck when he's dressed as the dead deer, like, and he just stands up and he's like, I wasn't expecting that. And the truck driver's like, I wasn't fucking expecting that either.
So it is like these people are cartoon characters in the real world, and like the mother at the end going off with Shaq. like,
There's always that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shaq was like, I love Shaq. Shaq just showed up, and he still shows up in the fucking
all these
weirdest
bizarre
of places,
little roles.
He must be quite a guy. He must be so funny, like in real life.
I would imagine, yeah. Quite a guy is that Shaq. Yeah.
But
Love
it's, so
that
that there's no kind of like convincing you to pick like Freddy Got Fingered.
No,
or
I would very much place Blazing Saddles as a classic film. It stands the test of time insofar as, even though some of the language is offensive, it's purposefully that way. It's this whole kind of difference between we are making fun of people who feel this way and who are racist, and we're pointing the finger at them and going, oh my god, how stupid are they? Whereas Freddy Got Fingers is just pure offensive at times.
See, I think that's the thing that is lacking from a lot of stuff nowadays. Like, we would have grown up with Blazing Saddles, and there was a lot of you where people like even Jerry Springer used to have Say the Clan on, and they were just like
just to make a mockery of them,
utter
basically.
morons, like, quite obviously. But like me, I don't know. I imagine they're online clips of where you see some of the clips of these people. And they think that they're so... they shit that they even say, besides the racist stuff, they shit that they come out. Half of them they can't fucking talk properly. Like, I mean, I know I can't at the best times either. But, like, me English bad, that's impossible.
Yes.
But it's like some of the fucking... where it's like these people needed to be put on show and derided and mocked. Because when you do that, people kind of go... You know what? I don't want to be associated with these racist fucking idiots because I don't want people to think I'm
laughing at me kind of thing. And it is, if you poke humour, like, I mean, it's always the answer, I think, but I don't think people do it nowadays. The way you deflate someone and the way you take away their powers to go, ha ha, you fucking fool, that's absolutely ridiculous, rather than taking it seriously and getting mad at it. Yeah,
and go, oh, you ban them, but you never say ban someone because the very minute you do that, you legitimise them. And then there's a load of people
they turn
that
into
go,
a martyr then.
I want to be with those edgy people.
Yeah, they're cool. And,
because that's like the Clan were basically fucking nearly non-existent, and the few assholes that were still around in the 90s with it, people were fucking, they were a laughing stock. No one wanted to be in the Clan.
They're like these idiots out wearing their pillowcases.
Whereas now, I'd imagine numbers, like all those racist right-wing people, the amount of them, they're fucking gone through because people see them as being a legitimate form where they're like, it's where people, oh no, they're shut them down, don't let them speak. Let them speak. The more they speak, the more they fucking hang themselves.
Exactly.
They're fucking clowns, and like, mock them. Don't turn them into these
bad guys and such. Yeah, well, obviously
they're bad guys.
They're bad guys, but don't hold them up to be like, oh, they're like dastardly villains, because again, as you said, that gives them power and it gives people something to rally around.
They did it with the Nazis. Yeah, they did it with the Nazis as well. With neo-Nazis for a long time, they were portrayed as morons and tick fucking fools. Then all of a sudden, it started to obviously, like, neo-Nazis should be banned from things, like, but still at the same point, let them speak, because you would have to be a moron to get involved with them anyway, but especially once they're portrayed as morons. And like, there was like Mel Brooks was very good at, like, with the producers,
absolutely,
like, mocking Hitler and the whole fucking shit, because like, obviously it was horrific what happened, and like, people don't
You don't say.
You know, but you know, people don't, by mocking it, you don't like belittle the horror.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. You're taking the balloon of these fucking idiots and you're just puncturing it, and it's just, you know, you just pop it and deflate it with the humour.
There's no better way to win an argument with someone than sneering at them and laughing at them. Like,
good old sneer.
There isn't, you know, if the more you argue with people and you legitimise them, you just fucking create you create something for them to fight, and in their head they go, oh, this is like,
they're arguing so much because I'm making so much sense and I'm right, and they're getting upset. Whereas you're right, as you said, like, if somebody starts spouting nonsense, if you just laugh at them and walk away, that'll frustrate people even more, and it just, as I said, takes the wind out of their sails, and it's like, well, where do I go from here? You know?
Don't engage with them, just laugh at them. Let them fucking have their fucking kind of
their mad notions.
And talk, because you're never going to fucking change them. Like, I'm sure probably at some stage during the whole show will get into black metal, but for people who there was a guy, Varg Vikernes, he's still around. He had a band called Borism. He murdered one of his friends when they were teenagers over fucking, it's, people would say various theories for, basically it was over money. That was old,
charge burn and so on.
There was a load of fucking shit with it. But he went off to prison for a long time. He came out, he married this 16-year-old racist in France who was writing fucking all this stuff, and he's like, by all means, a bit racist himself.
Ever so slightly.
But like, people used to always mock and like laugh about it, in the metal scene because not laugh about, but like it was just belittled. I was like, well, that racist fool. And even in the film with it, remember there was like things about him, like someone would say Hitler and he'd be like, and it was nearly comedic where it's like, oh, look at this clown.
Lords of Chaos is the film, in case anyone's wondering.
Yeah, but they banned him from YouTube and he's got a bigger fucking following now than he ever
because
had.
he got banned, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a lot more people where they put it legitimate and they're like, oh, he's a very smart man, he's a genius.
Obviously it's like the powers that be are trying to silence him, like, you know, and it's like, well, let him talk then, you'll hear how much
it's like Alex Jones.
Like
leave
anyone
on
is
YouTube.
speaking,
Although it was great what happened to Alex Jones in a way, but like, I mean, at the same point, leave him go on about gay frogs and stuff because, you know, you can't take the man seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, whatever happened to, because Alex Jones, if you go back years and years ago, he was nearly intentionally this comedic figure and he was quite a likeable goofball and then all of a sudden he fucking just turned into this weird salesman and got in with all this fucking, I don't know what happened to him, like, you know, how he kind of went so mental.
Maybe you should contact him and ask him.
Oh, I will, yeah.
Yeah,
And I wonder if is InfoWars still a thing?
I think so, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, you were signed up to the website.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like, I mean, even something like that, I suppose I remember years ago when, like, regional forums are a thing. Like, there was one of the an Irish forum, boards.ie, they used to go and do raids over in Stormfront, which was sort of the Nazi basically bulletin board, and they just go over and basically rile him all up and sneer at him and get him really fucking angry and just like laugh at him. And again, that's the best way to deal with people like that. You go in, you scoff at him and you laugh him and you troll him and all. That's what you do. You don't go over going, oh my god, how dare you say that? I've hurt my feelings, because that's all they want. Like, you know,
exactly,
you just go over and hurt their feelings.
They're racist shitheads. And like the thing, it's a fucking conversation for a different
very
day.
much off track here now.
But I'm like, I can see your point about Blazing Saddles. Like, I do think out of the two movies, it's the movie that's going to be probably remembered.
It's the movie as well that you could sit an older person down or a younger person down and go, watch this, it's a lesson in racism, and people could all kind of watch it. I don't think you could show Freddy Got Fingered to your grandpa or like your auntie or something like that and go, this is a commentary on what?
Yeah, it's and even with younger people, I don't know if younger people would get Freddy Got Fingered as well.
I think the younger generation would be highly offended as well, because again, it's totally out of context, and it's gross out humour, and it's pushing people's boundaries to try.
When you talk about it, you actually sound like you're offended by it.
No, I think it's hilarious for them. Now, some parts I am offended. Like, I mean, there's some things I'm like, Jesus, I didn't need to fucking see that. Like
what?
You know, the horse wanking, for example. You don't need.
You seem to keep going back to that, all right?
Because it is horrifying. It's horrifying. Like, I mean, as I said, if that was done nowadays, you'd have the animal rights people in going, "Oh my God, you're sexually abusing a horse." I don't think
there's a real horse. No, he was fucking full of it.
But you know what I mean? It's sort of, oh God Almighty, just stuff like that. Just really, it's like, do you have to really do that?
But haven't they done stuff like that in like The Apprentice and things, where it's, you know, where like they're gathering like horse semen?
I think they did something in some Irish one where someone wanked off a pig or something like that, and everyone was disgusted at that as well.
What? It was probably, wasn't there TG Carr had a
something, yeah.
It's
like
an
a
Irish
farm apprentice or something, yeah, I don't know.
Oh, that was awful. I remember we were looking at it for a lot, where it was like, they'd be like, oh, you could win a tractor. Oh no, you couldn't win it. Sure, tractors are worth hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be delighted if I won a tractor.
On a tractor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could sell it on
a tractor tyre.
It's
a golden tractor tyre. Yeah.
But no, but there, like, I mean, there are parts where it's just kind of like, oh my God, did you need to? Like, I mean, I don't need to see Rip Torn's bare arse either as well.
Yeah. It's the tipping point for the mother. She, like, he's drunk and he turns around to Freddy and Freddy goes, you know, fuck you, and
Gordy.
he's like, or Gordy, yeah, and he's like, fuck me. And he pulls down his pants and he's slapping his arse, going, well, fuck me then, and the mother walks down the stairs
and she's like, oh my God, he is abusing our children. Yeah, but there's a few moments like that in there where you're just like, oh my God, that's just a bit much. Like, you know, he is, again, it's that kind of comedy where, like, you push it and sometimes it just goes a bit too far. It's like the Dom Jolly thing where it's like, hello, I'm on the telephone. You know, sort of these sketches where they kind of, it's purposefully annoying and purposefully sort of like goes on a little bit too long to see how much people can tolerate. It's the Family Guy effect again, I think. So again, I think unless you're into that kind of humour, like I said, you're not going to sit down with your family on a Saturday night and be able to watch that, whereas you could with Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I think I agree with you. I think Blazing Saddles will obviously hold, because it's after holding up for like 40 fucking 3 years so far.
43 years when was it made?
72. Or was it? Oh, maybe 74 or so.
Yeah, I suppose it's 74, but that's... What were you saying?
Oh shit, 50 years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You're doing that thing where you're missing out a decade.
That's crazy. Like when we were younger, like, I can't even think of a film from the 40s.
Yeah, that you'd actually sit down
like
and
was Casablanca even in the 40s?
That's the only thing comparable would be like fucking Laurel and Hardy or something like that, or Charlie Chaplin, you know? Things have come a long way since then. Although having said that now, a lot of the comedies that are coming out nowadays, I'm kind of like, Jesus, bring us back to the days of Charlie Chaplin, where it's actually...
Well, maybe not Charlie Chaplin, but yeah, there hasn't been many good comedies coming out. It seems to be golden age for horror at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose, yeah.
But the horror always seems to have a revival, whereas
comedy's tanked,
yeah. I think with comedy you nearly need a group like of people that were like really good in SNL to come out and do a few movies and then get to, you know, whereas
and I think as well, a lot of people, I think maybe it's this whole thing of playing it safe as well. Like I said, there's a lot of things that you do it in 2001 and all of a sudden 2010, oh my god, you shouldn't be saying that. And it's just, as things move on, I think it's very, very hard to not offend people, if you know what I mean. So I think a lot of people are steering away from comedy even, or they're going for the broadest, most lowest common denominator possible.
Yeah. Well, I think Freddy Got Fingered was fairly broad.
I suppose, yes, and that's probably, yes, but you know what I mean. I do think it's very broad and inoffensive, and like, you know, oh, sure, everybody is just like, it's like, I don't know, like Alvin and the Chipmunks level of comedy, where it's like, oh, look, a chipmunk
but
is
it was
talking.
always like that too. I think the last time when there was like big was like the Will Ferrell.
That whole...
Those, and I think we'll have
and Seth Rogen and all of his bunch, you know.
Whereas I don't know that they lost their edge a bit. I suppose I still think that they're probably capable of doing some very, very good movies, but it's just not their time. It was like with Chevy Chase and all those lads. They had their time in the 80s and then a bit into the 90s, and then Adam Sandler.
Yeah. He had Mike Myers, of course, as well, doing his whole thing with all of his.
Just Wayne's World and Austin Powers. Mike Myers apparently is meant to be a massive prick.
I don't know.
But his stuff hasn't been funny for a long
but that's what I'm saying. But he had his like bump. He was doing Austin Powers and, you know, Wayne's World. You have all these groups that kind of come together, coalesce. Hey,
donkey.
Coalesce. Do that impression again. That was
hey, donkey. Shrek.
You should go into impersonation comedy.
I'm like Jay Farrow.
You're so fantastic. Oh my god.
But yeah, I suppose I'd give it to you that I think Blazing Saddles will be remembered in another 50 years' time. Although I think Freddy Got Fingered is probably the funnier movie for me.
Yeah, well, for you, yes, but you're a very particular type of...
Yeah, but it's meant to be like whatever it is. So I have a funny feeling, because I said about 9 Inch Nails when they came out first. I said Trent Reznor is going to be known as a composer and a classical musician composer on our time. Yeah, and he ended up going that. And I guarantee you he'll be in fucking 100 years' time, people will be studying Trent Reznor, kind of going, oh, how did he do that? And it'll be like, oh, it was... a monkey. But I have a funny...
Tom Green?
Yeah, I have a funny...
Is going to be?
I think, the Freddy Got Fingered is going to be hailed as...
the Citizen Kane of its era?
Yeah. At some stage, people are going to go back to it and go, oh my God, this was a comedy masterpiece.
Maybe not. I think people might go back and go, oh my God, this is very, very of its time. And if you want to see what 2001 humour was like, watch this.
Yeah, I thought it was ahead of its time. I guarantee it'll come at some stage. Someone will be like Beyonce or Taylor Swift and be doing an interview with Rolling Stones and say,
we're recreating Freddy Got Fingered.
Video of it. They're like my favourite movie of all time, where it'd be Taylor Swift doing a cover version of Sausages.
I actually would like to see that come to the
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, that's terrific. But yeah, Taylor Swift playing with sausages hanging out over her fingers.
But you had a lot of those, like, waiting, I think, was around that time as well. Whereas I think what's missing now is, like, say, the B-movie comedies. Because that's where a lot of the really good comedies come from.
Yeah, the ones that are not the big, like, tentpole sort of, like, you know,
and that's where the comedy stars
cinema.
arise from. It's never going to be like Meet the Parents or Meet the Fockers or whatever. You know. But yeah, look, I'll give in and say, kind of like in the verses, in the fight of Blazing Saddles wins.
Yes.
I think if it was like fucking a Kumite fight to the death thing, like blood sports.
Oh, okay.
I think Freddy Got Fingered would be like the Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's the Star Trek. That
was the fucking blood sports one is like really bad synth music from the 80s, and then like with the DX7 bells, where like, oh, it sounds Asian. It's like,
and also racist again.
But there's a remake, or not, there's a sequel to it being made by like being, I think it was backed on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And there's like a lot of older action movie stars that would have been like, say, straight to video movie stars or in it coming out. I can't remember what it's called. I'll probably never see it because I can't remember what it's called. So.
Yeah, I know. Jesus, your memory is kind of shot there, especially when we're supposed to be talking about Freddy Got Fingered and Blazing Saddles and what we're talking about now.
But yes, so look, the winner is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Blazing Saddles wins. So go off and look at Blazing Saddles.
Well, go off and look at both, and you be the judge.
Yeah, you be the judge, but Freddy Got Fingered is a better movie. But yeah, look, people, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening. We'll have lots more episodes coming up over the coming weeks and months. Maybe years.
Decades. Centuries.
Yeah. We have to set up, like, we'll have our YouTube channel is up and running. That's where the podcast will be as well. There'll be other stuff on it. We should be on Spotify and iTunes at this stage and all the usual places. You'll find us everywhere. So yeah.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Give us a like or fucking review. A good review. Yeah, we can't handle criticism.
No, fragile.
We're not like for fucking Tom Green. We wouldn't turn up to the Razzies. We just fucking end up hanging ourselves. But yeah, look, until next time, goodbye. Take care. Auf Wiedersehen.
Proud.